Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me for another Batman review. Today it is Season 1, Episode 31, Death in Slow Motion. This episode has special guest star Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, and also features an amusing guest starring role from Sherry Jackson as Pauline, who is the main female villain accomplice in this episode. And this is an interesting episode, and for the most part it works. I would almost call this like a Batman Season 1 Greatest Hits episode, meaning it packs in a lot of material and hopes that some of it works. And I have to say a lot of it does work. A few things didn't work for me, but there's definitely a lot going on. So we start in a theater, and they're playing an old silent film, I believe, which fits into the theme of this episode. This whole episode has a lot of references to silent films, which I thought was interesting. And of course, the Riddler shows up, and he's dressed as Charlie Chaplin, and he does an amusing silent routine imitation, which I actually thought was the highlight of the entire episode. His henchmen are also dressed up as the Keystone Cops, I believe, another interesting older film reference, and Pauline is there as well. And this silent routine is basically just a distraction to commit a theft and steal the box office receipts, I believe it is. So, of course, the commissioner calls Batman and Robin, and they are on the case, and we get a new riddle, and they figure out that this leads us to the Riddler, who's going to the bakery, and he hits all the employees there in the face with pies, which basically knocks them out. I guess they had knockout gas in them, which is interesting. I have to say, this seems like something maybe the Joker would do instead of the Riddler, but it was amusing enough, so I guess I'll go with it. And the Riddler is filming all this in a silent film style, as well as he does everything throughout the episode, which I thought was a nice touch. So Batman and Robin show up at the bakery too late, but there's another riddle, which basically leads us to the library at another location in this episode. And at this point, when Batman and Robin get there, of course it's a trap, and they're hit in the head with a giant book. Yes, another giant book in this episode, and it's a book on silent films, of course, fitting with the theme. So at this point, Batman and Robin go back to the Batcave to try and figure things out. Meanwhile, the Riddler is plotting, and he's watching all the silent movies with his henchmen and Pauline that he's created so far, and he seems to get a kick out of them, but as always, you can tell he has a bigger, more sinister plan. So ultimately, the Riddler decides he's going to, they're going to spike the drinks at this party that's being held, and it's kind of weird. We get a Batman fight scene, but not between the heroes and the villains. All the people in the party kind of start losing it after they drink the punch, and they start hitting each other and beating each other up, which was a little bit strange. This scene really didn't work for me. It seemed a little too over the top, and in the grand scheme of things, just seemed to be thrown in there because this episode pretty much just throws all kinds of things into the plot. So this leads to Robin being outside and being tricked by Pauline, who's dressed up in a very strange outfit, including a bonnet. I thought she was amusing. I thought Sherry Jackson did a good job in this role. So, of course, Robin is knocked out with gas, because what else would happen in this show? And our cliffhanger leaves with Robin. He's in some kind of old mill, I think. And it's a sawmill, I guess, and he's tied up to a conveyor belt. The Riddler gives a couple of really bad jokes, actually. Frank Gorshin tried, but I didn't care for him too much. So will Robin be saved in time? My guess would be probably. So overall, like I said, this episode kind of has the approach, let's just throw everything we've already done into the episode. Most of it will work, a few things won't. But overall, it's a very entertaining episode, and Frank Gorshin has fun as the Riddler once again. And I do notice the episodes that feature Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, he gets a lot of screen time, as I actually think he was in this episode more than Batman and Robin. Just an interesting note there. So overall, a good solid episode that's very entertaining. I give Death in Slow Motion a 3.5 out of 5. And I would actually say that this is an episode, if you wanted to show somebody the show for the first time, it's a good start. It has a little bit of everything and shows what the show does well, and a few of the things it doesn't. So 3.5 out of 5 for Death in Slow Motion. And as always, thank you very much for watching.